Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second half of the week of October 7th with graphic novels, manga, and more. Sorry, I've been a little slow getting this up. I didn't have internet for a while and then discovered that I had five leaks in my roof. I knew I had one and had a pot up there, but decided to go crawl around in my attics. Anyway, I had a busy day messing around with spray foam and putting little pots up in my attic, and tomorrow I'll be calling somebody to do roofing. Anyway, so let's get on to graphic novels, manga, and more. There's lots to know. So, comics and curriculum. Just think about this in your library. You could have a middle school student looking for a graphic novel biography or a collective biography about a scientist to prepare a report for science class. That'd be pretty cool. It's a way for them to add another text-based resource into their bibliography, into their list of sources. And it's a way for them to get information in an unusual format. You could see a high school boy reading a graphic novel adaptation of Macbeth to help him comprehend the dialogue for his AP English Language Arts class. You could have a high school girl at the circulation desk checking out the title Inside Out, Portrait of an Eating Disorder, to help her understand a classmate's study with bulimia. You could have two English language learner students examining a copy of the United States Constitution, a graphic adaptation, to prepare for their U.S. history class. And you could also have several middle school students talking about their latest volumes in their favorite manga series. I'll let you know that I have all of these in my library. Dear students and patrons, to these readers, comics are not a niche medium or a juvenile indulgence to be outgrown. Today's teens, comics are just another way to get stories, and they are not going to give up the medium as they grow up. Their tastes may change, and they may go through phases of interest, but their love of the format isn't waning. That's from Robin Brenner in Hicks, an article from Hicks in 2012. If you are working in a school, graphic novels hit a ton of curriculum topics, including biographies, classic adaptations, fine arts, math, political science. Obviously, we've talked about March over and over. Science, social issues, coming of age, social studies, traditional literature, and writing. You can connect to all content areas. They're suitable for all skill levels. You can provide introduction to new content and vocabulary, and you can engage students in really challenging curriculum concepts. You'd be surprised at the excellent vocabulary in many of the graphic novels. And of course, they address very difficult topic areas. English Language Arts, ELA. ELA teachers can use a variety of graphic novel titles to teach literary devices, plot development, and to develop vocabulary and writing skills. Unfortunately, a company that I used to use called CrossGen that did a series of graphic novels no longer exists. They went out of business. But they actually had an education division and had teacher guides and vocabulary lists and activities with their graphic novels, and they were awesome. Anyway, some professional books you could use include The Graphic Novel Classroom, Powerful Teaching and Learning with Images by M. Bacchus. Building Literacy Connections with Graphic Novels, Page by Page, Panel by Panel. That's by Carter. Connecting Comics to Curriculum, Strategies for Grades 6 through 12. That's by Tomasevich and Gavigan. That's our Karen Gavigan at USC's Library School. And Teaching Graphic Novels, Practical Strategies for the Secondary ELA Classroom. That's by Monin. So you have great book resources out there to help you make these connections if you're having difficulty making them on your own. You have biographies in graphic novels. Amelia Earhart, Houdini, Dignifying Science outlines a bunch of different female scientists. This Feynman one is about a physicist who is also a safecracker. Obviously Anne Frank, and there are many, many others. You have classic adaptations. One of the earliest ones was The Lord of the Rings. Those were some great adaptations, and you have adaptations of all sorts of things. I want to tell you about one of my English teachers asked me if we had a graphic novel adaptation of Julius Caesar. He was teaching Julius Caesar to a lower level English class, and they were really struggling. And we had a graphic novel adaptation, which he was able to use in the classroom to project on the smartboard, which he found very helpful and useful with that class because it brings the text closer to the dramatic presentation that Shakespeare intended. And obviously you can use all these other ones if people are struggling with the narrative arc, or struggling to figure out what's actually happening, understanding the plot. Graphic novels can be very helpful in leading kids or helping them with their comprehension. There are graphic novels that address fine arts or focus on people famous in fine arts. I particularly like the Isadora Duncan book. The drawing style is done in an Art Nouveau or Art Deco style, which is about when she was doing her choreography. So it's a neat parallel there. Anyway, there's a way to tie it to your fine arts or your related arts areas. There are graphic novels for math, which sounds unusual. I actually checked out one of the manga guides to geometry this week to a student who came to me and said, I don't know what's going on in my geometry class. Do you have anything that can help me? So I was pleased to find that I had that book. I didn't realize I even had it. But it's a great way to help kids access the multi-modalities. You know, kids learn visually, some kids learn actively, some kids learn by reading. And so it can help you to help a child access their strong points. Graphic novels can be a great way to discuss political science, the graphic constitution. The Arrival by Sean Tan is great. I have that at work. Other things in political science, they're just a great way to, again, access learning modalities in your students, especially those who are not strong with the written or printed word. I wouldn't necessarily think first of graphic novels for teaching science or helping kids with science. But again, you want to be accessing or activating students' strong points, access their learning modalities. If they are visual learners, this is a great medium to help kids. And there's all sorts of different books. Obviously, evolution, DNA, space dogs. There's good stuff out there that can really, really make tough content accessible to more kids. Graphic novels also address some really, really tough social issues, and it can be a great way to broach difficult topics with teens, like Yummy, which is just a heartbreaking story of an 11-year-old who shoots a 14-year-old girl in gang warfare in Chicago. It's incredibly sad. The Meaning of Life and Other Stuff. I have a couple graphic novels, one about the incredible journeys of a teenage mom. It's heartbreaking also. It goes out a lot. I need to replace it. It's so worn out. When my father was dying of Alzheimer's, there's a graphic novel about how to talk to your parents if you know they have Alzheimer's. There's just great stuff out there that can really address difficult things in a way that is much more accessible, often uses humor to sort of break the ice, and can help you broach really difficult topics. There's fantastic, fantastic stuff for social studies. There's the 9/11 report, Persepolis, The Kite Runner, Little Rock 9, obviously March. Anyway, there's just really great stuff in graphic novels that you can use with all age levels or all grade levels or all ability levels. But when you're thinking about trying to make things accessible for your less motivated students or your less motivated patrons, graphic novels can really fit the bill. Of course, there are graphic novels about sports, and these are usually a pretty easy sell. You can have traditional literature put into graphic novel format, so you can learn about Robin Hood or all your Greek mythology. And of course, you can have graphic novels where the focus is really on the excellent writing, and the imagery and the drawings are secondary to just the beautiful writing, or complementary to the beautiful writing. You can use graphic novels to prompt students to design and write on their own also. So one website that can help you do this is Make Beliefs Comics. It is fairly self-explanatory. You create an account, and then you can start creating panels with sort of drag and drop some images and the text bubbles and all that good stuff, and then you can have kids create their own graphic stories. Another comic creator is www.comicmaster.org. Works similarly to the previous one. Read, Write, Think, which we have mentioned before, also has a comic creator feature. And speaking of comic creation, I want to do a little spotlight on a really cool project done by Dr. Karen Gavigan at USC. She created a comic book called AIDS in the End Zone, which was published by Young Palmetto Press in 2014. It was a collaborative effort with some young people who were in the Department of Juvenile Justice, so kids who were essentially incarcerated. So Karen partnered with a graphic illustrator who brought in superheroes and manga for the students at DJJ to look at and browse. They decided on a theme together after seeing the illustrations, and they determined the story's basic premise. They expanded the storyline, and they worked on character development. They worked with the students for an extended time period, and they blocked out the scenes and visited multiple times to get feedback from the students. So they would determine the number of pages, like block out scenes, and then figure out how many pages. And the illustrator returned each week with renditions of the illustrations. The students then made suggestions for changes throughout the project. The objective was to have young people's buy-in and input to help improve AIDS education for teenagers, particularly teenagers who were at risk. Another collaborative cartoon or graphic project is the Stop Bullying Comic Challenge. You can find it at cartoonnetwork.com, Educator Guide Index. These were created by kids from across the country. This free printable guide is filled with inspiring, funny, and creative comics all about putting a stop to bullying. So I will have this PowerPoint posted so that you can click on that. But it's a neat little, obviously, kids' input, again, makes it seem more immediate and accessible for kids. Digital graphic novels are also growing in popularity. It's one of the fastest growing multimodal formats that today's visually literate youth embrace. They are often referred to as online graphic novels, webcomics, or long play comics, and they first appeared in the 80s. Apps, ebook readers, online, and interactive. There are multiple formats. Honestly, in my library, I do use online comics or ebooks. I have several graphic novel ebooks, and they can check them out using the Destiny app on their phones. They get limited use, though, for some reason. Well, I know why. Kids don't really like reading using the app as much, though some of them use them. Some graphic novels started out as digital versions. American-born Chinese and Americus are some examples. Multiple literacies, including digital, visual, textual, and technological, have now joined information literacy as crucial skills for this century, and that's from AASL in 2009. Take a look at today's adolescents. Whether texting, tweeting, or sending photos to friends, they are making connections and processing information using both text and images. They do have some level of visual literacy. However, keep in mind, we always think of them as digital natives, and they're native to their phones. A lot of times they're not native to actual productivity software. So they're great at sending pictures and taking pictures. They may not as easily access your online information, even if it's cool stuff like you have your graphic novels in an ebook format. they need some coaching to access that stuff. So keep that in mind. I do think you can get super results using graphic novels. Obviously, I'm doing a little bit of a hard sell, but kids love them. So when teachers and librarians use graphic novels to bring positive changes in the literacy lives of their students, the results can be more powerful than a locomotive. So be a super librarian and don't be a Debbie Downer like I was in about the year 2000 when I had a new coworker walk in and say, let's get graphic novels. And I was like, oh, I was wrong. Anyway, onward and upward, using graphic novels in your classrooms and libraries. Do get them. If you walk into a library that has none, get some. The kids go bananas. A recent recommended read for me is Disappeared by Francisco X. Stork. Francisco Stork also wrote Marcello in the Real World, which came out a couple years ago, which is about an autistic character. And The Last Summer of the Death Warriors, which I haven't read, but that's another, and both of those books were highly rated and awarded. So, in Disappeared, 4 hours ago, Sarah received a death threat, and with it, a clue to the place where her friend is locked away. 4 weeks ago, Emiliano Zapato fell in love with Perla Ruby, who will never be his so long as he's poor. 4 minutes ago, Emiliano got the chance to make more money than he ever dreamed, just by joining the web. In the next 4 days, Sarah and Emiliano will each face impossible choices between life and justice, friends and family, truth and love. But when the web closes in on Sarah, only one path remains for the siblings, the way across the desert to the United States. This one had starred reviews in Booklist, Hornbook, Kirkus, and School Library Journal, and it won the Tomas Rivera Book Award. So you might want to take a look at this. Francisco Stork is not prolific yet, but he is certainly highly regarded and has several recent entries in the young adult literature world. All right, I think I just cut out the cursing I just did, and if I didn't, I apologize. Sorry. Anyway, upcoming assignments. Assigned readings. Finish your articles, read chapter 8 in your textbook. Make sure you're reading assigned articles for next week's class. Make sure you're posting to required forums as you finish reading your books. Those are open and you can post to them anytime. I will not comment on them until closer to the due dates, most likely. Your first literature log should be graded before the weekend. Okay, that's optimistic. They're taking me longer to read than I realized because I'm trying to comment on stuff. They should be finished by Saturday. How about that? Okay, and the book versus movie assignment is due by midnight on October 25th. I think I have that date right. Oh gosh, I get so confused by dates. Wait, I'm looking. Yeah, book versus movie is on the 25th. And be sure you're viewing classes within the week to receive participation credit. And again, if I didn't cut out my cursing, sorry about that. Questions? Email me. Also, I think as far as school policy, I'm not allowed to have anything due when class is canceled. So if you didn't get your discussion in today, I can't mark you late, but get it in by tomorrow. And I haven't even looked at them yet because I didn't have internet and then I had a leaky roof. So, hey, just get your stuff in. And I should have caught up on grading by Saturday, and I hope you guys are all safe and dry and have a better roof than I have. All right, take care. Bye.